I'm going to give you all 30 seconds on this one. Okay. Now, by the way, the pacing on the science section is 52.5 seconds per question. And we're going to try to do them at about 30 to 40 seconds on these table ones. There are questions that do require longer than that, but these table ones should be pretty quick. Now, on this one, it tells us that we've got gum Y, right, at 100 minutes at 65 degrees. Now, we do have 65 degrees here, but there's no 100 minutes. But do you see how the 100 minutes would be between the 800 and the 1,000? That's what we're going to use. And that's what we look over. We say, oh, it's between 800 and yeah, that's it. That's the one. That idea of that estimating that 100 minutes is between 75 and 120, that's a constant theme throughout the science section. Now, let's say we had a different question. Let's say it said 150 minutes. Well, I might try to guess what would have happened 150 minutes out in front. It's got to be more than 1,000. And so that would be letter J. Okay, that could be asked as well. All right, again, interrupt me at any time as we go through these. Here's another one. Go ahead and take yourself 30 seconds. Okay, so this is another one, another estimation one, but this time it's, it's 75 minutes, but it's at 30 degrees, and we don't have a 30 degrees. We have 25 and 45. Well, 30 degrees Celsius is between those. So we're like, well, which of the answers is between that? And it would be letter B, right? 1750. That's the one that would be between those, because the other answers are not between those. Cool. All right. So now here's some more dealing with figure one now. So before we're dealing with table one, now we're going to look at questions that deal with figure one. And here's the first one. Go ahead and take 30 seconds on this one. Okay, so this one we're using a chart, and a graph in this case, and we're looking at 2%. And we've got to put them in order from lowest viscosity to highest viscosity. Well, I think we can spot that gum Z is the lowest, right? So that's why we're eliminating A and B. So it's either C or D. Well, if gum Z is the lowest, the next lowest would be gum X, and that's got to be letter C. I'm not going to spend time checking the other two and make sure it goes W, then Y, because this is the only choice. We can save ourselves some time by doing that as well. Okay, let's do another question based on this figure. It is this one. Take yourself 30 seconds. Okay, so for this one, we have to find 1.3%, which is about right there. It's counting by 2/10 every time. So it's between 1.2 and 1.4, but which has the highest viscosity? Well, I'm looking at that, and the highest one on that graph is gum W. So it'd be letter F. Okay, let's try another one on this. This one, take 30 seconds on it. Well, I don't know if you're like me, but I had to read this one a couple times. I had a hard time seeing this, even though lower, I was thinking vertical for lower, not horizontal. But at 100,000, there we are. And gum Y has the lowest concentration at 100,000, right? Gum W, heck, gum Z doesn't even get to that level. So yeah, so gum Y would be the one. Okay, so again, these strategies, read the questions first, right? Do not read the passage. It's written at a college level. In fact, a lot of these, if you look, you can see actually which study they are citing from there. Annotate as you read. In other words, as you're reading the questions, circle, underline words, a lot like we did in the math section. And again, don't read for understanding, right? This text is written at a college level. Read for understanding on the questions. Don't read for understanding in the passage. Don't be afraid to draw lines like we've seen there. And again, stay focused, right? This is the last section of the test. And usually you're pretty mentally fatigued because you'll do the English section, then the math section, and then they usually give you a 10-minute break to kind of stretch your legs. And I would take advantage of it. Get up, even if you're not thirsty or don't have to go to the bathroom, get up and walk to the bathroom just to move the blood a little bit. Don't be one of those people that just sitting there. And then when you come back, you're going to do the reading and the science. Try to stay focused on it. Okay, let's look at another passage and kind of practice these again. So here's passage number 2. And you'll notice in the left-hand side, we'll see like 3 different reading passages and 2 figures and 1 table. But again, do not read it. Go directly to the questions, right? And when we look at it, we can see that the first 3 questions are talking about study number 2. And so we're just gonna go right to study 2 and try to figure out what's being asked, okay? So again, every question on the science section is 52 seconds a question, but these charts, tables, and graphs stuff, we should get them in about 30 because that will help you save time for the tougher ones. All right, 30 seconds on this one. Go. Okay. So again, 60%. That corresponds to a 0.6, and there's only one choice that has a 0.6 in the interval. It's letter C. Okay, let's go on to another one from this. Again, 30 seconds. Okay, so on this one, yeah, as percent BD by volume increases, right? This yellow line is, as we're increasing to the right, isn't the yellow line going up? Doesn't this have a positive slope? So it must be letter F. It is increasing only. Okay, let's try another one here. Take yourself 30 seconds. Okay, so ACT typically has one, maybe two questions like this where you've got in the entire test, right? Not just a passage, but the entire science section. Maybe one or two questions we've got to put two charts and tables and graphs together. And what we should notice is that as percent goes up, so does the A value, right? However, as percent goes down from 100 to 0, the A decreases as well. So if I'm trying to find the smallest A value, I should try to find something with the smallest percent. And in our table, W is the one with the smallest percent. So that would be letter A. A bit of a stinker. Like I said, there's one, maybe two questions at most on the science section that would involve, correlating two types of graphs here. All right, let's do this one. And I do want you to note the parallel structure here on the answer choices. Science really likes that one a lot. Take 30 seconds. Okay, this one's kind of like a math knowledge question, right? Because we see sample Y has 4.8%, right, by volume. Now, we've got to look. It's 10 liters, right? So we'd be inclined to say 4.8 times 10 liters, right? But remember, we need to really do, the answer is asking for in liters and milliliters. Well, liters, when we multiply this, we get 0.48. 0.5 is really close to 0.48. So I think we could safely eliminate C and D. Well, if this is in the liters, how many milliliters would that be? Well, let's take the 0.5 that we're picking from the first piece, right? 0.5 times it by 1,000, right? Because aren't there 1,000 milliliters in 1 liter? And that would give us 500, which is A. So this is kind of like a math question, which you have to know percents, and then also a science question, knowing, milliliters to liters correspondence. People usually don't like this, that it was, 0.48, but we're going to round it to 0.5. Key, the word says approximately, right? So keep that in mind too. Okay. Next one, go ahead and take 30 seconds on this one. Okay. This is an example of a science question where every answer is very, very, very similar, but they're slightly different. Like if I look at choices A and B, the difference is right here on that second here, but not BD, but not PD. We've got to read carefully. First off, they should be doing the study at 1172 because those wave numbers have a much greater difference between those, right? If you're trying to figure out, if you're measuring BD and PD, if you're at 1464, like C and D say, those answers are really close together. It'd be very hard to distinguish between the two. Whereas at 1172, they are very far apart. It'd be much easier to do those. And the answer is going to be letter B. Okay. We'll do two more sections here. Section 3 on this 2017 science one. Again, we see some passages on the left, a figure 1, a figure 2, and then again, there's 6 questions on the right. But again, the questions do tell you where to look at. Figure 1, figure 2. Look at number 16 here, figures 1 and 2. So we are going to relate some things together. All right, here we go. Take 30 seconds. Okay, this is one where glancing at the answers definitely helps you. Now we can actually calculate the values, right? I mean, the answer is letter H, but we could look up here on the top and we can see that the outer core and lower mantle, the distance horizontally on both of those is about the same. So we could use that to figure it out because the other ones are not even close at all. I mean, the inner core and the upper mantle crust kind of close, but not as close as the outer core and lower mantle. Also, this is a graph you're not used to seeing unless you start using them in science a lot. Notice the left-hand side is labeled with one axis with one set of units, whereas the right-hand side, totally different, right? And so on the key on this, it kind of told you which side to use, whether it be the dashes or the solid lines, depending on which side you're looking at. But very confusing graphs here. All right, let's look at another one. This one, go ahead and take, again, 30 seconds on it. Okay. So in this case, we need to expand out. This graph only goes to 13,000. We need to kind of expand a little bit to think, hey, what would happen at 14,000, right? Well, we can see this dashed line is just going to kind of continue on out. And so, all right, think it'll be about there. What is that between? It's between 1.5 and 2.5. The rest, it's not even close to the others. It's got to be letter C. Okay, let's try another one here. On this one, same graph, go ahead and take yourself 30 seconds on it. Okay, so on this one, we've got to look at the two different radii, right? 2,000 versus 4,000. And the gravitational, right? Well, I think, this one's much, much lower than the one above, right? So it's got to be letter A. You want to read carefully because the ending, right? A and B are very similar, just using a different radius at it. So you want to be careful with your reading. Definitely helps that the science section happens after the reading section because you're used to reading for criticalness in the reading section. All right, we've got one more to go through. Here it is. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go to the answer on this one. The answer is going to be A, right? Because we're dealing with 30% of the mass. We can see 30% would be about right here. Where does it touch our graph at? Right around there. And that's the only choice, 30,400. All right, so